What up with you guys, and welcome back to the Hangout Podcast. It's your boy John Mike, and I got a really special episode for you guys today with none other than the Mike Bereal. We recorded this episode back in January while we were at NAMM. We got a chance to sit down with your favorite instrumentalist, your favorite keyboard player, your favorite producer, and we got to get deep insights into his history, how he got to where he is. We're talking click tracks, we're talking Nord, we're talking Kevin Bond, we're talking all of those things like that, and you're gonna get to hear it today on this episode of The Hangout. Without further ado, let's jump into this conversation. I'm over here with the Right Reverend, the Bishop, the Prelate, the Elect, the Apostle, the Prophet, the whatever we want to give to him. All of that and then some. No, all of that and then some. You know who he is. He is none other than Mike Bereal. Be real.
What's
up, y'all?
What's up? How y'all doing? Thanks for having me, bro.
No, man, thank you for really, after such a long day that we was just talking about, we have both had at NAMM performances.
Yeah.
You know, people will people on you.
Yeah.
People will pull on you.
Yeah.
And, you know, once you done had your fill of people, it's like, yo, so for you to be able to people all day with all of the people at NAMM and then pop up over here and hang out with us on the podcast, man, I really appreciate, man, your time and all of that.
I'm just happy to be here, man. Very happy to be here, man. You know, like you said, it's been a day, but you got to keep your word.
Yeah. What else do we have? You know what I'm saying?
We got. That's
what else do we have?
Yeah.
But yo, man, so check this, man. I know you are legitimately a legend in the game. You know what I'm saying? And we always give honor where honor is due, and all of your thank you, first of all, for your contribution to the gospel industry, to the from production to playing. Yeah. I mean, you, Kevin Bond, Jason White, I mean, Cedric Thompson. Yeah. I mean, you honestly, I'm just gonna call it, y'all can hate me, y'all can throw it, whatever you say. You're on the Mount Rushmore in terms of gospel musicians and your contribution to our industry over the last 3-4 plus decades that you've been in the game. So I always like to highlight that story, because we see the glory, right? But nobody really digs in and gets the story. We are enamored by the chords, what you do, your outfits, the fit game always be on point. We're enamored by that. But there's a story that leads behind that, man. So enlighten us, dog, on how you got into those places. I'm talking West A, Judy McAllister, I mean, everybody I know they probably they can think of 19 records that you done been on that just inspired them. So what's that story, man, that got you from here? How did that start, and how do we get to where we are?
Well, you can say once upon a time, not long ago, but you know, if I can remember, it has been such a long time. The journey started in the 90s, early 90s. A lot of my let's see, I was associated with Church of God in Christ,
of course, yeah,
growing up. So I grew up in a family church that was affiliated with Church of God in Christ, and so I kind of got my start as a singer. With my brother. My mom used to have us go to musicals and sing songs together. And two of our main songs we would do was Ordinary People, James Cleveland, and then the Clark Sisters, I'm Expecting a Miracle. Two different extremes. Don't even ask me how did that happen, but
those are y'all jams.
Those were the songs that we would sing at musicals and afternoon services and what have you. But then I've also had an infatuation and a love for the Hammond organ. And so that's how I got into playing. I would mimic playing the organ on a coffee table when I was a kid. And my dad saw me doing that. Till one day he just took me to the church, our family church, and then he taught me how to play the organ by showing me the keys of the keyboard and what have you.
Wow.
And, you know, the rest is pretty much history, you know, how I learned how to play in church. Um, I think one of the main components that I learned when I was learning my keys at the time was marrying note to pitch.
Okay, break that down.
Which gave me perfect pitch. You know what I mean? Knowing what the pitch of that note sounds like, just by hearing it.
Exactly.
So, you know, we pretty much all know what perfect pitch is, but my description was marrying note to pitch. You know, knowing what the note that note actually sounds like. Not just memorizing the actual notes or the letters of the notes, but knowing what that tone sounds like, that pitch. So the key of A would be like, you know what I mean? So that's considered perfect pitch. So
exactly.
So now, you know, but not knowing that it was perfect pitch back then. I just knew that I knew what it sounded like. I knew what it sounded like just off of listening to it.
That's so dope. So in that period, as you're coming up, young Mike B, young Mike Bereal, like, who was your influences at that point in time? Who was you listening to? Who was inspiring you? Who was like
what's weird is you know, growing up, I could never listen to secular music.
Me neither.
So I think that's a lot of gospel musicians' testimony growing up. So we didn't listen to a lot of gospel. I mean, not gospel, a lot of secular music in the house. So, but there were gospel records, and so one of my idols, outside of my dad and my uncle, that sat and taught us. I used to listen to a lot on records. Would be a Billy Preston.
Yes.
The Kenny Looper record. And then of course, you know, a lot of the other stuff, the gospel nuances that you hear today, we got it from the records from Andre Crouch, the Hawkins, all the way to Detroit, Thomas Whitfield, to of course, you know, Milton Brunson, listening to those records, New York, Benny Cummings, Butch Hayward, and all of those guys. So, you know, we were listening to a conglomerate of gospel music that kind of came out of different areas of the country. You know,
that makes sense.
So, but mainly, you know, the Crouches, the Hawkins, the James Clevelands. The biggest influence in how we play in terms of what you hear was Thomas Whitfield. That was a big influence. And then other guys came later.
Man. So, okay, so that transition from as you're learning and you're growing and moving into, you know, some of the more, I say early 2000s, late 90s, when you start really like locking in, and like when you connected in with Jason White and all of them and got to West A and started that whole era and building what we call West Coast, you know, gospel, and you guys pioneered that sound as we know it in this area. And I know, shout out to Jermaine Griggs, you know, from what was this piano, not Piano Clubhouse, what's this joint?
Jermaine Griggs. Hear and Play.
Hear and Play. Shout out to Jermaine Griggs from Hear and Play for platforming you guys, you know, in those areas, because I remember as I was really getting into learning keys, it was like, yo, and they was dropping you, and you guys was coming in and y'all was teaching the congregation songs, and y'all was teaching all of that stuff, that whole style of what we call the West Coast style. And it was just like, yo, this is so dope, you know, and we had never like really had anybody that was like breaking those things down and breaking down those chords and tritones, and then the way that y'all did it was just so amazing and so inspiring to all of us in that era, and that crafted and brought out the whole era of gospel musicians from like 2000, early 2000s to like now, like everybody. That's why I like everybody still locking in with that style. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys locked in. So how did that transition come? Like, not just necessarily Jermaine Griggs. I know that's a part of the journey, but like, What is that next step that gets you from like there to there?
Well, you got to go back to the Church of God in Christ organization affiliation. So like when I was coming up, you know, I have my father and my uncle and them, you know, kind of spearheading where we went musically and how we approach things musically from a church standpoint. So the association comes out of I want to say jurisdiction number one, which at the time Bishop Blake was the jurisdictional prelate. Okay. So that's where, you know, you met Judy, you met Jimmy, Michael Newble, you met those guys. And but even before Judy's time of being prevalent in that, you had one man named Patrick Henderson.
Okay, yep.
So being affiliated in the jurisdiction, that's how I became to know who they were, and I became to know those guys and what have you. And so still being a young lad, I would play in the jurisdiction, you know what I mean? And so
and those are like the proving grounds in that,
that
day.
Absolutely.
You know, I hear all of this.
Absolutely.
I didn't grow up Kojic, I grew up Baptist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you know, I understand, like, because I have so many homeboys that grew up Kojic, and they're like no, like
right.
That's the hot seat.
Right.
You get up in jurisdiction, you get up in those spaces.
Yeah.
That's the proving ground.
Yeah. And so in my growing up, my teenage years and everything, that's how I came to know who those guys was. And then I was being affiliated with the jurisdiction, I would play in the convocations and what have you. So as I got older, then I started being more prevalent in playing in jurisdiction. And that's how I developed playing with people like Jason and playing with Jimmy and Michael Newble, those guys. And so that's how I got affiliated with all of them. And then once I became 18 and whatnot, doing records and traveling, that's how I got into the industry.
Yeah.
By working with them. And so then of course got into records that same way. That's how we got into doing records and
that's so
and
dope.
What happened. Yeah.
So what do you attribute in that, if you're going back in your mind and thinking about that time in your life, what do you attribute to, I mean, of course, sheer work, putting in the work and learning your craft and being good at what you're doing. That's one thing. But what are some of those other things, those other kind of hidden attributes that you think that helps you facilitate to get into those positions, to be playing for Judy and playing for West A and getting the attention of like Jason White, working with Kevin Bond and guys like that? Like what are those things? Because I think a lot of people think they get there just on talent alone, you know, which that's piece of it. What's the
I think for me, I was in the environment.
Yeah. That's good.
Being in the environment is that's a big contributing factor to how I approach music. Not necessarily trying to get put on, but just actually being in an environment, watching them do what they do, how they approach music and listening, you know, and then, you know, taking that, then going home and incorporating it with something that I was doing.
That's good.
You know what I mean? And so, and then of course, you know, in time, people will watch you and they would see you doing what you're doing, and then you know, that's how you kind of get in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I never really was the one that kind of forced my way into anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just all perfect timing, God's timing.
Yeah.
You just do what you do. You do what you do. People are always going to watch you. I never forget, I was at my grandfather's church
I'm excited to reveal something game-changing for us and for you as producers and musicians. I want to introduce to you Peculiar Sounds version 2. We've introduced standalone mode, allowing you to use it independently from any DAW. You can now blend up to 2 sounds to create rich and complex textures. We added in 2 brand new effects, the Lo-Fizer and the Mod Filter. The Lo-Fizer gives you instant lo-fi vibes with just a button, while the Mod Filter adds dynamic movement and flow to any sound you apply it to. And we also added the innovative new MIDI browser that provides you with hundreds of chord progressions, melodies, and drum loop MIDI files that you can drag straight into your DAW. And as a bonus, V2 now includes Sounds Off the Block expansion for totally free, bringing the total to over 400 patches. So as you can see, Peculiar Sounds V2 is not just an update, it's a revolutionary new plugin. So make sure you check the website right now and you can get your hands on this game-changing plugin.
The first time I ever played for a gospel artist like Donnie McClurkin, say for instance. So
wow.
We was at my grandfather's church. We just do what we do. He just happened to come. My uncle brought him in, and then we ended up playing for Donnie McClurkin, just, his churchy stuff.
Wow.
And it just so happened that way. And then, as time got older, then, he remembered that, and then he asked us to play for him.
Wow.
Go on the road with him. You know what I mean? That's how it happens.
Wow. So do you think that, so in your mind in that point, was that like the path that you were kind of seeing that you were wanted to go? Or does it like, when you look back on it, it's like, oh man,
well, it's more of a path that I wanted.
You wanted. Yeah.
I wanted. But like I said, it's something that happened in perfect timing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? In perfect timing. And then, you're ready for it because you worked hard to be ready. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so where you can create that thing, you learn and you glean for what you see.
Yeah.
And then you create something. You create something where you're at.
Yeah.
And then you build on that.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then when it's your time, then, you're ready. But in most cases, you're still not ready because it's some certain things that artists look for. But then, always having a posture to learn, always having a posture, to learn more and more and more. Because, a lot of times guys, because they get the call, they feel that they arrive. That don't mean you arrive.
Yeah, that's so good.
I never forget Donnie. Donnie used to always beat me up. He would always say, he would give us the fist if we didn't know a song or whatnot.
They say Donnie and Richard and all those guys are like the OG gangsters.
Yeah, they would, and then they'd be like, these young kids don't know nothing. And it may feel embarrassing, it may sound embarrassing, but I took it as a learning opportunity. All right, well, let me when we come off the road, let me go home and research what I don't know, and then practice.
Wow. And it's a different time back then because we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You couldn't just go pull up a YouTube link and listen to it. You had to go find, you had to really go study, find those records, really understand what they were saying.
Absolutely.
Now we just pull up a Spotify playlist.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We had the tapes and we had to like rewind the tapes. You know what I'm saying? In order to and you had to press rewind, stop, rewind, stop, rewind to actually like get in there and do it.
And so even in those moments, it prepared me for moments like now in my career, in my musicality. It's almost like there's a song that I can't pick up.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because and I don't mean that arrogantly.
Yeah. No.
It has trained my ear to listen to melody first. Melody is always first.
Yep.
Everything else is secondary. So there's no song that I cannot.
Yeah.
Really pick up and play. You know what I mean?
Because you understand that.
Because I understand that framework melody first. So if I can hear a melody one time, maybe 1.5 times.
Yeah.
And then I got it.
That's so good. So speak to one thing I want you to speak to, because you've had such an illustrious history of working with some of the greatest, I mean, not some of all of, just a pretty much, I don't think there's not too many artists that you haven't done something, especially like the artists that are artists in our industry. You know what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of independent, you work with a lot of independents as well, but I know there's a lot, you've worked with the greatest, from Donnie to Judy to all of them. Like you're still working with these guys and these guys in the industry. What do you say is the posture for that? Like, how have you navigated that throughout the years? I mean, because I know that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of understanding. Of course, you worked to get into those positions and you have rightfully earned those, earned that path because you etched it out. But to the people that are watching that, like, you know, these are the up and comings, the young kids, the young cats, the young bulls, the whatever you want to put in that space. Like, what are those things that you see? What are those bits of advice that you give them and say, these are the key points. These are the things that you need to be locking in on, be working on.
When you're working with people like those type of people, let me see how I can word it, because a lot of times we get ourselves in scenarios where we feel like we are somewhat irreplaceable. And it's like, you know, yeah, we got the gig on lock, we got the gig down pat, but it's like at a certain point, like every gig that I've done, every record that I've worked on, the person I played for, you know, everybody is looking. I don't want to say everybody's looking for the next great, but the truth of the matter is, there's always going to be someone greater than you. There's going to be someone that brings something to the table that you didn't think to bring to the table. Not to say that you couldn't, right. But you know, it's just the circle of life starts to really kick in when you dealing with the younger versus the older. And so me being a 48-year-old man at this particular time, yes, I'm grateful to still be working. However, most of the artists that I've worked with, I don't really work with them anymore. I don't, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you know, younger generation comes up. You know, they're able to approach it from a different angle, and that's perfectly fine. But it puts you in a posture. You know, when I was coming up, the older generation didn't really like pour into you. They was just like, you know, okay, I'm still the head joker, you know.
HNIC.
And so, you know, and it's like, okay, well, I get that. But you know, I want my opportunity too. We all want our opportunity. And so a lot of times it's like, I know for me, my opportunity came from doing my own thing. In terms of, if somebody wanted to work with me, like I would work with somebody that wasn't really too known. You know, we did our thing, and then we made our scenario known.
Yes.
And then here comes the prominent people.
Yeah.
They're doing their thing.
Because they heard what y'all were doing.
Because they heard what we were doing.
We want that sound.
Yeah.
We want that.
And so I believe that particular that particular thing happens, you know, it's just a circle of life.
Yeah.
It's just a circle of life. I think what happens is some people hoard whatever that situation, they hoard it. versus letting it go and then imparting it to the next.
That's good.
But letting them take it to the next level. There's a young guy out of Baltimore. He plays. His name starts with a Z. Zance. I forget.
Zion.
Yeah,
I know you're talking about Barnes. Last name Barnes. That's my kid. That's my guy.
So I met him today, right?
Yeah.
Like in person today, and hugged him up.
Yeah.
Because I actually enjoy what he does. You know what I mean? He's like very phenomenal.
Oh, he's a monster.
And so I just told him, I said, hey man, you just keep doing you. Like you keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I said one of the things I can say that you kind of remind me, I told him you kind of remind me of me when I was younger, because like when I was playing, the era was like the gangster era. Like he wore the big baggy, big baggy clothes, and the braids. I
remember.
Yeah. So we was doing all of that. So now this era, they're doing the fedora hats, they're doing the shades, and they're doing their thing. And so I just told him, I said, man, you continue to do what you're doing, but always have a posture to learn.
I love it.
Always have a posture to receive good criticism. I said, because you'll go far.
Yeah,
you'll go far if you take that mindset. And he took it, and he's like, man, I appreciate that. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, guys aren't really looking for how to play in terms of being advanced, because they're already advanced. But they're looking for for lack of a better term, the validation. You know what I mean? Like, am I doing right? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And some guys are. Yeah. Some guys are. You know what I mean?
Some need to feel that. They need to have. I think like what I was talking to someone today about this. It's the aspect of this generation. One of the things they've lost is like kind of like the mentorship. You know what I'm saying? Like we came up in that era, like you said, we was at where it was always mentors. There was always some OG musician or some OG cat that was in that place that we were trying to get to, and we sought that validation from them, because we like, yo, if such and such say I'm good,
right?
I know I'm doing. If he let me on the organ, if I don't get slid off when when I'm playing, when this out, then I know I did it right. I know I'm good. So do you feel like that's that element? Because like you said, they're seeking that validation.
A lot of times in that regard, some guys never experienced that happening. I've experienced it.
Yeah, I have.
And so
went home crying.
Right. But I never took offense to it.
Absolutely.
Because, I always had a mindset of, okay, well, why is he kicking me off? Is there something that I didn't do right? Obviously, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But, I always took the attitude of, show me that. What was it?
Yeah, what I missed.
Yeah, what did I miss? And of course you don't do it while in service.
Yeah.
When church is over, you be like, can you show me what was that I missed?
That's so good.
Oh yeah. So this is what you didn't do. You play this, that's what it was. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I say now there's not a melody that I can't catch. Now, because you
cultivated that.
I cultivated early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so not a church service that I can't cover.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it ain't
that's
necessary.
Not arrogance. That's just
it ain't
that's knowing your craft.
Right.
That's knowing your craft.
It's not necessarily about playing bumps all the time. Like, I mean, anybody can play bumps, but when in service, there's not a moment that I can't catch. Because number one, I understand sensitivity.
Yeah.
I know what it means to be sensitive in certain moments, and I know how to flow in certain moments. Number one, because I cultivated the hymnals, learning hymnals throughout my tenure playing, and then now not just to play a hymnal, but to know what hymnal to play in a certain setting.
That's so good.
You know what I mean?
That's really good. I love that. I love that. So I think that's all dope, man. Like how you built that, and even how like you're pouring into like via social media, Instagram. Like your Instagram is always dope. All your posts and how you're taking that. I know we did some stuff when Kevin when he came on the pod. He was talking about like you in that respect, how you do, how you're sharing and you're pouring into that generation, and you're doing that. Like I was with Warren Brown, a few months ago. And like, he just went on and on because he did that gig with you at that last, I can't remember the artist, but
Darius Washington.
He did that project. Yeah. Man, that dude was like a school kid coming back like, yo, Mike, because he just enjoyed being in that environment and being around you and being in that thing. So just being able to, that's just kudos to you for like doing that, man. Because like I said, a lot of in this generation, and I don't think it's necessarily for a lot of like quote unquote the OGs in this game. And I don't think that a lot of them don't want to share. I think it's some of them, because technology has kind of outran them, so to speak. They don't really know how to share. They don't know how to use these mediums to really like pour in. I think some of them really have a heart for it.
If I can shout out one OG, Kevin Bond.
I was gonna go there with
Kevin Bond.
Forever GOAT.
Yeah. We got to work together on a few records coming when I was in my 20s. One thing he taught me, a couple of things he checked me on, and I can admit this because this is one of the things a lot of musicians haven't learned even to this day. Call time. So one time when I first got on a record with him, he had made a call time, and I was late for the call time. Yeah, everybody was in the car except for me. So when I finally got in the car, he just politely turned to behind and looked at me and said, "Hey, we don't do late lobby calls." And so I just took it on the chin. And I said, okay.
Yeah. You didn't never miss another lobby call after?
Never miss a lobby call. And so I'm very anal when it comes to lobby calls. Like if I'm doing something and you're part of my situation, if I say a certain lobby call, I'm expecting you to either beat me downstairs or beat me there, or you right on the money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But shout out to Kevin Bond, because not only did he show me a lot of things musically, he pushed me out there to be a producer. Yes. He was like, yo, go get your gear. Wow. Get your gear, man, because you're gonna be doing this next. And so I was like,
I mean, he called it.
And so, I call him my mentor to this day. Yeah. Because, Kevin he's always been a forward thinker. Yes. And, like I pay attention to his social media. Yes. Because not necessarily by what he posted, but he found the method to being a successful content creator.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
He has. And he's killing it.
And so,
every medium. I remember when he was doing the Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Like it's like if something pops up tomorrow. Yeah. If a new social network pops up tomorrow, you probably gonna see Kevin Bond over there doing something.
Yeah. And so it's always something. I always learn something from him, outside of music or music related, you know what I mean? So he's always going to forever be my mentor.
That's so dope, man.
You know what I mean?
So dope.
So yeah.
That is so dope. So Kevin Bond mentioned something to you about gear and stuff like that and getting your gear together. So in this day and time, like where you're at now, what are the things that you'll use? I mean, we know you Nord artists, Nord, Nord to, Team Nord to die, all of that stuff like that. So we know Nord has got you. We just heard you at the Nord booth killing it, doing all your thing there. But so what are some of those things that you're using now? Like what are the mainstays in your production? I mean, of course, we know back in the day you pioneered the MKS 20, right. Sweet Flute.
I got all of that from Kevin and Jason. But if we're gonna be correct
about it. Let's lock it in.
We heard that sound from Thomas Whitfield.
Mm-hmm.
And they saying a hymn record was on the RD.
Yeah. 1000. Yes. See, I was talking to Ed at the booth at Roland, and we talked about that very thing. It's like everybody goes MKS 20. That like that's the standard and where it started, but it actually started with the RD 1000.
It's the brain of
the module.
Yeah, it's the module.
The MKS 20 was the module version of the 1000. That's what really caught on.
And a lot of other people use that as well. I've heard that on countless records, but. Let's just give credit where credit is due. Kevin really like made it the forefront of a lot of the Tri-City records.
He did, that's true.
The Hawkins New Dawning record.
Yes.
I said the NorCal.
Mm-hmm.
So he made it the forefront, and then we follow suit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We follow suit.
That's good.
And so I'll never call myself the originator of that.
And that's important. That's important because we have these quote unquote, you call them debates or what have you, but you have those things, those questions. And so when you start talking about MKS with certain people or certain cats, you get in certain circles, they're gonna say, "Oh, it might be Jason White." They're gonna attribute to somebody. So to put it official on the record, now, okay, we shout out to Thomas Whitfield, shout out to Kevin Bond. This is where we got it from because it's always. And I'm pretty sure there's some place where he pulled from.
Yeah, we definitely follow suit. So I mean, again, it comes from somewhere.
Exactly.
All influences and inspirations come from somewhere, and so Bond was he kind of put it in the forefront. I can honestly say now one can argue and say loops in church or loops in on gospel records came from somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
But
MPC 2000 XL.
Kevin made it the forefront. He put that in the forefront.
Not even only that, using computers.
In he
live recorders and samples.
Like Kevin he used to use the Kurzweil keyboard with the sample on it. He was using that. He was using so much. No, he was using so many things, man.
We'll put a screenshot up on the pod when we edit it or whatever. But I found this picture. I think I remember sending it to Kev. Like this was like years ago, probably probably close to 10 years ago now when I found this picture. I was watching a YouTube video, old Tri-City records. Right. About the OG Bible Stories records.
Back in 95.
Them joints. They sitting up, they had we call them the big back computer. Right. They had the big back joint like up on the stage.
Right.
And I forgot what Kevin, I hit him up and he told me what it was, what they were running. They were running something on that computer. I'm pretty sure because Kev watch our stuff, he gonna see this pod and he'll be in the comment section. It was the Right. So y'all check the comment section. I'm pretty sure Kevin gonna tell you exactly what it was. But he told us that. And if I can remember, I'll put it in the comment section or whatever. But I remember like you said, early 90s, they were pioneering that then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you said, loops and all of that stuff like that. And like I said, they probably got it from they pulled it inspiration from somewhere. But there's always the inspiration that comes from there. And then there's the person that catches it, runs with it, and popularizes it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like keeps, and so I know there's a lot of those things that for a certain swath of the population, you popularized it for them.
He made it,
but that's where you got it from.
He made it the forefront of albums and recordings where I took the the MPC.
Today, I want to introduce to you Loop Elements Pro. This represents a very innovative new way of using loops. And guess what? It's standalone, not only as a plugin, but it's also standalone outside of the DAW, which means you can now use loop elements in your live performance. This isn't just a plugin. It's the ultimate tool for creatives and producers. Whether you're layering loops, creating click tracks, creating beats, building arrangements, soundscapes, Loop Elements Pro gives you the power to create without limits. Loop Elements Pro is now available. Go get it now.
Where I took the MPC, I made it popular for church. So going back to 2007,
yeah,
that was the 100th year of Church of God in Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first year that I played the entire convocation.
Okay.
Because Bishop Blake became the interim presiding bishop because we lost Bishop Patterson.
Bishop Patterson.
Right.
Shout out to Bishop Patterson, man.
So
because I'm from right outside of Memphis. So
right.
Bishop Patterson.
Yeah. So 2007 we get to Memphis. So I brought in the MPC for the actual service. Then now the MPC was incorporated in the musicals. You would hear drum machines in the concerts.
Yeah, but not in the concerts.
But not in the services.
Not in the services.
So I brought the MPC into the service. That's where you heard all the shout musics and the claps and all of that. And bishops were like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at the time, my brother was playing bass. He was coming and help playing bass. Jimmy was playing bass. And then I had guys like Moore. What's my man? Austin Moore,
yeah.
And then of course the Mayfield boys was hanging around too. And so
Aaron, Josh, all them boys.
When I brought the MP in for the service, that's when the bishops was taking a liking to click tracks. And so, of course, when we moved from Memphis to St. Louis at the time, then I started incorporating other keyboards, like, because we was using the motif, we was using the Triton, using the organ, and then I was bringing in the MPC. But then when Bishop got the seat, then it was like, get what you want for the whole thing. So we had, of course, I was using the motif, and then I was using the at the time, I was using the XP80.
Classic.
And then I was using, I had a Fender Rhodes. And then of course the racks, 1080, MKS20. But then I started using the Electro 3.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So
see.
Then the red board started creeping in. So that's when I started using.
And that's important. See, a lot of people that I love that I was going to go there because I knew that about you, because I remember seeing like the electros and those boards creeping in around that time. I can remember even with Kevin. Kevin was talking about this. There's a clip with Kevin playing on I think it's like, I don't know if it's electro or a lead, like one of the lead joints, but it's back in like 11 or 12 or something. Like it's doing like one of, like, I don't know if it was a convocation or one of, like, he's playing that joint doing that. And so like Kevin was saying, and I know you share the same testimony, y'all were playing Nord before Nord was popular.
Right.
Before it was like the thing. So it's like, this isn't like all of a sudden, they brought y'all in and then
right.
Y'all was in the brand before the brand was
playing,
brand.
Yeah, we was playing Nord
when y'all wasn't getting paid.
When we wasn't getting paid for it. And then like the only reason and the reason why I got introduced to Nord, the way I got introduced to it, is when I was at Los Angeles at the time, my sound guy brought the board. My sound guy at the church brought the board. He said, "Hey, I want you to play this." And so we were Yamaha motif guys and everything. We was doing all of that. But when I heard the piano sound of the Electro 3, I was like,
the 3.
I was like, ooh. Yeah. So I muted it, of course. And so, and what's crazy, I had it on top of the Fender Rhodes. Yeah. So they heard the board, but I was still playing it on tape. They was like, well, what's that piano sound? And so that's how it started. The red board started creeping in. The noise started creeping in. Yeah. It wasn't until the end of 2017, I got a direct message from Nord Company asking me if I wanted to be a part of the Nord at NAMM at the top of 2018. Yeah. So 2018 to now, I've been an ambassador for NAMM. Yeah. So
now you lock it in like when
you 7 years now.
Yep, 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, you've been locking it in because it's like, yo, that's. I mean, just the evidence of the day when you show up when it's your time. Like people are talking about it. Like from the day you get to NAMM, on Thursday. You walk in the door, everybody's like, yeah, you know, Mike, you know, he's 4:00 Friday. Right. And everybody's already got it on their calendar. Like you don't schedule anything. You don't go to anything else because you know Mike is going to be at this time. Glenn's going to be on at this time. So and so is going to be on at this time.
And I also believe. I think what the other thing that I set from day one was with your audience. You always have to give your audience an experience, you know, and let them feel like they're a part of your performance, your experience. You know what I mean? That's why I talk. That's why I say certain things. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're playing or we're performing, but you know, people want to feel a part of it as well. You know, however that feels like. You know, they want to feel a part of that experience, and you know, and that's where part of my dress comes from. You know what I mean? You know,
it's good, man.
And so you know, just to be a part of the company, the way that I'm a part of the company and everything, it's just a great. Every year is just a great experience. It's great and a great opportunity to be able to do what you do.
Man, it's so great. Man, I appreciate you taking out the time, man, to just like really share so much wisdom, so much knowledge, because I know there's so much, it's an onion, you know, we're peeling back layers and we keep peeling back. This is going to be a 4-hour podcast trying to get all the deep, but you share so much on your socials and so much of your journey anyway. Anybody can literally just tap in on you and follow you on like on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever, and they can get all of the game right there. Just scroll your feed. You've already been dropping nuggets all the time. But like, man, I appreciate you, like you locked in with us with Doobie's, plug in with Peculiar Sounds, man.
Man, great stuff, man. Great stuff. Like we got to talk about that a little bit, just a little bit.
What you think about Peculiar Sounds, man?
Peculiar Sounds, man. It's great, man. I found one sound that kind of resonates with me. I believe it's the woo pad.
Yes, sir.
I done already did a couple records with that sound.
Really?
Already.
Okay.
Already.
You need to tell me which one so I can shout it out.
So I just did a single, a Christmas single this past year with this lady named Kim Green. So she did her version of "Give Love on Christmas Day."
Oh yeah. So
I used that sound on that particular record, and so she's singing really good on that. I was working on another tune with that sound, but we haven't finished that yet, so I can't really talk about.
Well, you let me know once it drops. I'm definitely gonna.
But that's. And then I use it, of course, at church. We did what was that song? What is that song we did? It was a slow song.
I know what you're talking about because I can hear it in my head.
Yeah,
we posted.
It was a Judy song. Yeah, it was a Judy McAllister song. Holy, 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 holy. So when they started singing it, when the lead singer started singing it, I turned the strings down and I turned up the computer and that pad was just like singing. It was just singing. Yeah, it was just singing.
It's so good.
It was singing. So yeah, great stuff.
I reposted that instantly because I was just like, "That's it. This is it. They don't get no better than that."
And you know, Doobie is a witty mind.
Come on,
he's a witty mind, and you know, and my brother, my dear brother, man, I love that guy. You know, he's a witty mind. Him and Kevin Powell, they just, you know,
they're special, man.
They're special dudes, man. I met Doobie in 1995.
Really?
Yeah, we was at GMWA, and you know how we do. We would go to like those type of conferences and go into the hall and sneak on the instruments and just play. That's what we did. That's what we did. And a couple of guys from out here, we would just go and hang out. And me and Doobie, I was on the organ. Doobie would hop on the drums, and we would just be playing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I met Doobie back in 95. And then, you know, we just stayed locked.
Wow.
From that point on.
It's so good,
yeah.
Man. But yeah, man, we appreciate you, Sean. I mean, I showed you Loop Elements a little bit ago, so we're gonna get you that so you can
I would love to dig into that stuff.
I think you're gonna love that one. I think you're
most definitely.
You know, for what you do. It's the evolution of what you did with the MPC and the click tracks and how you pioneered that. It just proliferates that into this generation and trying to honor that or what have you. But man, we appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, the Hangout Podcast.
Yes, sir.
We got Mike Bereal. This has been a great day. We was out here. We've done NAMM. We've done it all. But we appreciate you guys for watching. If you guys want to lock in with Mr. Bereal, let them know where they can follow you at.
I could be reached on Instagram, Mike_Bereal 76. That's my Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. You can reach me at Michael Bereal. And then same for TikTok, Michael Bereal. And I also have my YouTube page.
Which is just started locking.
It's in my bio on Instagram and on Facebook, but it's DABIZZ.
Yeah.
76. I think that's what it's called. The Biz 76.
Yes, sir.
The Biz 76.
We'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, but that's my YouTube. Yeah. So all those platforms, that's what I'm on.
Yes, sir. Well, y'all guys, make sure you go follow him. If you ain't already, I'm sure you probably are. But if you ain't, go follow him. And if you ain't following him on the other places that he's now on, go follow him on those places. All right, we lock in. We appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you guys on the next one. We out. Yo, thank you for watching that exclusive clip from the Hangout Podcast. We drop these on the channel on Wednesdays, and we appreciate you guys for taking out the time and watching this. If you're interested in seeing more of these exclusive interviews that we have, make sure you check out the playlist over here. If you're interested in taking your production, mixing, or whatever to the next level, make sure you hit the links down below in the description. All right, we'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm out. Holla at your boy.